Buckle up, folks. This is going to get a little bumpy. Big Sil's National Football Show. Happy Football Friday to you. Thank you so much for coming aboard. Bottom of the hour, want to get it out of the way. CBS's Boomer Esiason will join us. We'll talk to him about MVP race. We'll talk to him about the 8-0 Philadelphia Eagles. We'll get into the game here in a second. First and foremost, though, I do want to address this. Congratulations, Howie, for delivering the 2017 Super Bowl to the city of Philadelphia by yourself. Congratulations. He's now officially, in my eyes, the Jerry Jones of GMs. How many GMs do you see going around tooting their horn? This guy's got the swinette going. I'm the best GM in the NFL. Holy cow. Do I think he should be fined? No. Absolutely not. Howie! Hey, I'm the best general manager that's ever lived. I and I alone delivered the Super Bowl for the fine folks of Philadelphia. Every Super Bowl ring that was handed out to players that year have my name on it. I am King Howie. Howie the King. Long live Howie. Holy cow. Man. Holy cow, man. Isn't it good enough that I delivered? Oh, Jesus criminy. I'm like Jordan. This was the big rub between Jordan and Jerry Krause. Organizations, man, they don't win championships. Players do. The players do. The accountability. Players win championships. Well, he put the team. That's your job to find players to put. You didn't do anything. I don't remember you throwing passes, breaking a leg. You did nothing, man, except take the owner's money and get some players on the team that you thought could win. It's up to the players to win championships. You didn't do shit, man. I'm the best GM. This guy's Jerry Jones. Holy cow. Holy cow. I actually like it. There's a part of me that likes it. Okay? Today we need as many personalities in sports as we can get. So I'm all over it. I mean, look, I saw somebody say, well, maybe he should be. Come on. Dude, there's a lot of things in sports you want to find people for. That ain't one of them. Having a little fun, too. It's all good, man. Okay? It's all good. I'm the best GM. Hey, Paul, you don't like it. Get the F out. I don't care. Hey, I'm the best. Unbelievable. By the way, this World Series has been iconic. It's been iconic. I thought the Phillies played their ass off last night. That was really great. Came down. They didn't take care of business. Now they go back to Houston. I've really enjoyed the World Series. I have. I don't think they're done, by the way. I think this thing's going 7. I do. I think the fighting Phillies are going to be right there, baby. And Sanders like, Howie, let him hang. I'm the best. I'm this. I'm that. I'm the greatest GM in the history of GMs in the National Football League. I'm the best. The Jerry Jones of GMs resides in Philly. Look at me. I'm the guy. No one else. Wasn't Doug Peterson. Was it Foles? Was it the players? It was me. I delivered. Aren't you grateful? I was like, wow. Pretty ballsy to say that he was completely responsible for winning the Super Bowl. Huh. Okay. I'm going to get to the takeaways of the game last night, and we'll go over the numbers. All hail Howie. All hail. Man, that was I'll tell you one thing I do love, Xander. Howie Roseman and Jalen Hurts are king of content. They are king of content. Way to go, Howie. You make it interesting. he's made the season interesting. Howie's the guy. Howie's the GOAT. He ain't that good. He ain't that good a drafter. Don't kid yourselves. Or there wouldn't be a shitload of one-year deals on the team if he was that good. You're making it sound like this guy's Chuck Noll drafting Hall of Famers like that. Hey, I screw up on a receiver, I'll go buy one. Hey, I screw up on a corner, I'll go get two. No, wait, I'll go get three. Hey, I screw up on an edge rusher, I'll go get a couple guys. Come on, man. Wake up. Here, over here. Big Sills is here to set you on the right track. How you doing? Everyone misses? That's the point, Dank. I delivered the Super Bowl. Oh, my God. Boomer Esiason, bottom of the hour. Boomer Esiason. Man, I delivered the Super Bowl. Me. King Howie. I have come to the land of brotherly love, and I alone have delivered your one and only Super Bowl. I, who have missed on a billion draft choices since I've been head of personnel, have built a football team that may win another Super Bowl. I alone. Be grateful. All of you are peasants. Holy cow, man. Me. Howie got you the Super Bowl? How about the players that played, man? Holy cow. Unbelievable. Joseph says, hey, I liked Howie talking shit to the fans. What's more Philly than that? Nothing. Joseph, wait a minute. I didn't say it. Wait a minute. Have you heard me say I didn't like it? I said it's pretty ballsy. Coming out and telling everybody I'm the greatest GM in the history of GMs in Philadelphia sports. I'm like, oh, hey, he might be actually. I don't know if Dombrowski can turn it around. He's pretty awesome too, though, man. He's delivered a lot of championships in a lot of cities. Man, I'm the best. I delivered the Super Bowl. All right, let's get into the numbers here. Let's get into the takeaways from last night's 29-17 victory for the 8-0 Philadelphia Eagles. The Jordan Davis injury is without a doubt an important injury now to the team. Can I say this to you? Remember Big Sales telling you Fletcher Cox should not be on this team? Not for the price tag that he is. He's done. Fletcher Cox is done. The dude that's on the other side of him, though, I don't know what he's taking right now, but that was some ball game last night by Hargrave. 3 sacks, 3 TFLs. I mean, the game was everywhere. He looked spectacular last night. Fletcher Cox is finished. Okay? It's done. It's over. Hey, by the way, watch this. To make sure that we send him out on the right way, Fletcher Cox has had a brilliant career in Philadelphia. He will go down as one of the greatest defensive linemen ever to play in that organization's career or history. He will get a green jacket. He will be a guy that you'll look at and say, wow, this guy, what a great football player. But today, it's time to move on. It's just time. He's not the same player, and he can't give it to you. He'll give it to you in flashes and some spurts, but that's pretty much what I said from day one. He's not going to give you consistent football, and that's why they were running that football down Philadelphia's throat last night. The shittiest team in the league pushed around the front 7 of the Eagles last night. I thought handily, too. I thought in the first half, both lines got beat up a bit. I can't even tell you who's on the Houston Texans defensive line anymore, but they beat up the Eagles front line. What was it, 14-14 going into the half? I said this to you. Houston just doesn't have enough. They don't have enough talent. That was a well-coached game plan. I told you what they had to do, run the ball, and they did. They had to keep Jalen in the offense on the bench. By the way, pass protection, Lane got his ass kicked a few times. I'll tell you what that kind of comes from, too. Jordan Mailata got destroyed. This is 2 games in a row where you have to do this. Is he healthy? Is he okay? I don't think it's got a lot to do with his shoulder. I think it's got to do with his feet. His footwork is not good. He's resorting back to what he did 3 years ago. He's getting beat on the second move again. He's just not picking his foot up and sliding enough. Okay? He's just not. I thought he got killed last night. It was a terrible football game for him. Okay? Andrew, I'm talking about the Eagles Hall of Fame, my friend. Yeah, Mailata was drilled last night. Eagle defensive line, terrible. And by the way, when are your ends going to get home? Yeah, your boy Hassan Reddick. Try to get off the bus again. And Devonta Smith, 2 catches, 22 yards. Jesus, thank God you got AJ and Goddard, because that kid's getting lost in the mix. He's getting lost in the mix. Jalen can't find 3 guys. It's either Goddard or AJ. Goddard or AJ. You notice the 3rd guy in the building doesn't get any touches. 2 catches, 22 yards. That proverbial 3 dudes over 1,000 yards receiving, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. You got to figure, hey, the most electric wide receiver that you have is Devonta Smith in open space. AJ's a freak show with jump balls. Goddard is spectacular on the seam and on the hash and in the slot or in block and release. He's spectacular. I told you he was going to be, I thought, the main focus. This guy's on pace for 1,100 yards. Devontae's the guy that's getting lost in the mix here. Okay? He is. I've never heard of that guy that was running at Mailata before last night. Joseph, I think he's just some, old veteran guy. I mean, he killed Mailata last night. Absolutely destroyed him. It's troubling. Got Dallas coming up again. Dallas is a better pass rushing team. Now, Dallas can't stop the run. I don't care what they say in Dallas. Yeah, Hughes, man. That guy's been playing a boatload of years, right, Ron? Thank you, Kyle. He's like a 13-year dude. Ate him up. Hightower ate his ass up last week. Okay? Fletcher can come back on a minimum. I don't want him back. I don't want him back. Dude, he's toast. Let's get some young blood in there at defensive line. Fletcher Cox is toast. Move on. It's not about the name on the back of the jersey. It's about the organization and winning games. Yeah, he's been around a minute. JM, Mailata needs to stop singing and playing around. Yeah, I do this technique. Believe me, man, Stoutland's got to be in his ass today. Okay? Steve, could it be that he's hurt? Okay? And you know what? I'm going to tell you this. I would give Jordan Mailata the benefit of the doubt because I think he's too great an athlete. I don't think he's a good athlete. I think Jordan Mailata is a great athlete. Hurts MVP talk. I'm going to get to that here in a minute. I agree with Shannon Sharp. By the way, I brought it up yesterday. Hurts is not going to get the MVP. He should be in the conversation, though. But he's not going to put up the sexy numbers that voters in Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami. You know, I heard Rob. Rob got a little bit aggravated with that conversation. Rob knows it's reality. He knows it's reality. He's like, you're not watching Eagle games. Do you really think MVP voters watch Eagle games? Do you really think that? It's not because they sitting around and D Gunn, I was watching Sports Take, and he was like, you know, the one year that Lamar won the MVP, he only threw for 3,100 yards. Yeah, well, he led the NFL in wins and he also led the NFL in touchdown passes. Okay? Jalen's got a lot of that on his side. He really does. Hey, by the way, I don't really think that Jalen Hurts cares about the MVP award. I think he cares about the Super Bowl MVP award more. Okay? I do. I think this kid is everything you want, and he is getting better and better and better, and I had no complaints with his game whatsoever last night. The one fumble he had, the strip sack, I mean, you see guys do that all the time. I've seen Brady give something like that up. So that happens. A strip sack, you don't see the guy coming from the blind side like that. It happens. Okay? It happens. So I didn't perturb me too much, that turnover. Okay? So I wasn't like, Jesus, I'd said it on Twitter just to get under people's ass. But really, at the end of the day, that happens in games like that, man. You're so focused on the field. All of a sudden, a guy comes up, strip sacks you. It happens. And isn't that like the first one all year? I'm not losing sleep over that one. Okay? That's I'm allotted to. Hey, by the way, I don't know what it was with the snap count, but Jason Kelce and the entire offensive line, they were out of sequence. I don't know what was up with the snap count. I mean, that could play a lot into Mulata getting laid off the ball, too. Kelce sets the line protection along with Jalen. They weren't sliding very well. Even Lane looked at times bad. There was just something that I don't know what it was last night. Maybe just not focusing. Because it looked to me like there were lapses in focus last night. Now, again, you're going to play games like that. This is not college football. You don't have to have a beauty pageant and win a ball game. I was telling Xander this. Dude, you don't really have to, have a beauty contest where you look perfect every single game. But I will say this, guys. Maybe the short work week could have been. Could have been. Okay, now you get 11 days off. Got a problem with that a little bit, but hey, it'll help some of the veteran guys get healthier, and that's a cool thing. But again, this was the first time that the Eagles played down to a competition. The Texans have nothing to offer. I will say that running back, and again, I'm going to get to the numbers here. That Dameon Pierce, I was just asking Xander, do you remember him with the Gators? This guy's like Terrell Davis. Terrell Davis was a non-factor at Georgia. Goes into the NFL, turns into a Hall of Fame back. That kid can play, man. 27 carries, 139. That dude can play some ball. He's good. And the Texans line, outside of Jeremy Tunsil, there's nothing really in the room there. Right? I was a little shocked. Yeah, dude, the kid Pierce had 139. I mean, he was spectacular last night against what I thought was a soft defensive front for the Eagles. Now watch, does a game like that concern me? I'll tell you a little bit, but not really. I don't want to straddle anything here, but let's get to the numbers here. Couple minutes, Boomer Esiason's going to join us. I told you, didn't I tell you, you had to keep the Eagles to 60 plays to make the game kind of close. They held them to 62 plays. So they were right in that ballpark. The only problem was I told you they needed 70 plays. They had 57. You can always get on a series chart, whoever has more play. If you have more plays, you have more opportunities, right? They limited the Eagles to 62. You needed to be around the 60 play mark. Okay? The 60 play mark for you to have a shot at winning this game. Total yards, Texans 303, not terrible. Eagles had 360. Passing yards, 217. Hey, I'm not upset with the passing yards either. They didn't need to throw the ball. Just run the thing. You were going to dominate them anyway. They had 168. By the way, the secondary continues to shine. Passing yards, we did that. Turnovers. Texans 2, Eagles 1 to strip sack. Not a big deal. Jalen Hurts, 21 of 27. 2 touchdowns, 128.9 quarterback rating. Can't bitch at that. There's absolutely no bitching at that. I mean, what, 6 incompletions? Plus he was sacked a bunch of times, 4 times in the ball game. That's not stressing me. Okay? Isaiah says Devonta's still on pace for 940 yards. Oh, good. He'll match his rookie season then, right? Don't you want him to have a little bit better of a year? 940 yards in today's NFL is like 50 yards a game. You think that's good for a guy you drafted in the first round? I don't know. 940 yards. Last year he was under 1,000. Dude, to get 1,000 rushing yards today in 17 ball games, you have to average 61 yards a game. Okay? Some of these guys that make $25 million a year, 61 yards a game. Think of that. Over a 17-game schedule, comes out to 1,000. Maybe even lower, 60. Dallas Goedert is continuing to get better and better and better and better. He looks like a cheap man's version of Gronkowski. He doesn't have the hands that Gronk has, but he can block like Gronk. And when he gets in open space, I said this to you, Zach Ertz never looked for the end zone. Every time Dallas Goedert catches the ball, he wants to take it to the end zone. This guy's got a nose for the end zone. He's got a nose for it, man. I enjoy watching him play. He is an old school, rough, tight end. He's fun to watch. And by the way, he looks for contact. He tries to run you over. His hands aren't Zach's, but he does everything else better than Zach Ertz. He's a better player than Zach Ertz. Howie was right there. He's a better player. He's a better blocker. He has a better catch and yards after the catch radius than what Zach ever did. He's a good football player. And it's showing. 8 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. AJ, 4 catches, 59 yards. More of a decoy in that game last night. And as I said, Smith, 2 catches for 22 yards. Okay. He's the odd man out when it comes to moving the ball and spreading the ball around. Because Jalen's not a progression reader. Okay? You're just not going to have 3 guys, as I said, are going to have, there's going to be 1 guy every game. There's not going to be 3 or 4 guys every game. By the way, AJ 59 yards, like I said, that's right on the pace of 1,000. He's hanging in there. Last week he had 155, so get this. In a span of 2 weeks, this guy had 200 yards receiving. That's great. That's great. Okay? And again, Jalen, no arguments or nothing last night with how he played. Okay? No issues with how he played last night. So again, taking it away, my issues come again, once again, on the defensive side of the ball. Poor tackling. Your secondary saves your ass. This kid, CJ, I'm telling you something, man. He is a damn good ball player. I don't know, man. I know you guys, you guys like the 2 corners. I like Slade, Bradbury too. But to me, man, this CJ kid now leads the NFL in interceptions, and he's going into a free agent period when he has the end of the year here. He's going to command a shitload of money, dude, because he can play both the cornerback position and the safety position. He is some ball player. That's why I told you last week, for me, the guy who's kind of put it all together, I agree with Tone when he says that TJ Edwards is the guy that kind of like cements everything. I got to tell you something. The guy who's playing his ass off right now is Gardner Johnson. This kid can play, man. He is a good football player. Jonathan Gann has got a problem, though, with run defense. It's starting to rear its head again. And you know where they're starting to get beat? On first down again. And without Jordan Davis in there, Jordan Davis clearly is an issue. When he's in there and you have Fletcher in there, both of them, and you put a 50 front up, it's impossible to run the ball against the Eagles. Okay? I mean, to me, I'd put Hargrave on that nose. And I'd put Milton Williams, and I would put Fletcher over the guards. That would even, in my opinion, that would even help Fletcher out a little more. The cornerbacks are, without a question, making that defense run. Without those corners, you're not going anywhere. And by the way, your defensive ends, once again, are not getting home. You're not getting home. Now, let's pull this all back and reel it back in. There ain't no. You see what we're doing here? We're chipping away here because we're looking for perfection. Okay? We're not talking about a 2-win team or a 3-win team. You don't give a shit because you know you're not going nowhere. This is a team that has a lot ahead of it and a lot to play for. There's a ton of stuff to play for right now. Home field advantage, player contracts, free agents, the coach, the general manager tooting his horn, running around the stadium. I'm the best in the history of GMs. Okay, that's all great. It's good theater. I love it. It's great content. Once again, anybody finds Howie Roseman for that, you're an idiot, and you're looking for excuses to find people. That's not a finable offense. Was it him just being Howie? It kind of shows you more about who he is than really rubbing it in anybody's face. I didn't take it that way. I just thought it was a guy who goes a blowhard. I didn't take it in any insulting way. Okay? To me, that wasn't. To me, it was more like somebody said, you couldn't have been more Philly than what Howie was. He was basically telling that crowd or that part of it, F you, man. Okay? It's all good, man. Hey, I thought he was blowing and tooting his horn. Okay? But at the end of the day, man, so what? So what? It gives me shit to hammer him on. But at the end of the day, it has no bearing on whether or not the football team's playing well. I think it's funny. Good for him. No issues. Hey, anybody who thought that was over the line is stupid. You never heard me say that. I just like Howie going, I'm the best. I delivered the Super Bowl for Philly. I did it. I did it. It was me. All me. I did it. Not the players or the coaches or the owner. I did it. It was me. And I'll deliver it again because I'm the Messiah. Oh, man. I thought it was funny, man. Xander sends it to me early in the morning. I'm like, look at this guy. Holy cow, is he feeling himself? Those were some of my takeaways. Was it a perfect game? No, who cares? You move on to a little bit of a kind of 11-day break here a little bit. Okay? It's good. Get a little healthier. It's no big deal. Okay? You're going to run. You know how many more games are going to be like the Texans? The rest of the season out? You're going to probably have 2 more or 3 more of those. You're never going to play perfect football. What you're looking for is, can you overcome sometimes beating teams with not your best effort? And again, I don't think there was an effort issue. I think there was some shitty tackling last night. Okay, there was some shitty tackling. But I turn around and I go, I don't know. I'll tell you what, I can't wait. I can't wait to get to Boomer Esiason and get his thoughts on Jalen Hurts. I don't know if I've ever seen a guy put up what he's doing this year in my life. Boomer, thank you so much. Boomer, Jalen Hurts' play right out of the gate. What do you make? Thanks, brother, for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure, Dan. Well, you know what? He's making $1.6 million this year. That's what he's making. I wish I could be making that, right now. But I will say that he's going to get a $40 million raise, if not more, starting next year. Remember, he's a second-round draft choice, and this is the third year of a 4-year contract. So he's not going to be playing for that contract next year. I can tell you that. Hey, the reason I love him, he's a second-round draft choice. Nobody gave him a lot of credit coming out of college. He moved from Alabama and left there because of Tua. And, all this kid does is just win. He wins everywhere he goes. He's like a gritty type of quarterback who's refined his game into being one of the best in the league. And I think his GM, Howie Roseman, has done an unbelievable job building around him. And if you watched last night, it's hard to get a real read simply because the Houston Texans aren't that good. But you see how good their offensive line is, Dan. So I know a thing or two about having really good offensive lines and bad offensive lines. And Philadelphia has one of the best offensive lines in football. And it helps when you can run the ball and you can run yourself. And then you have wide receivers like they do. So Howie Roseman deserves a lot of credit. But Jalen Hurts is the guy that's pulling the trigger and leading the team.
Boomer, how much did that motivate you when you go in the first round? I remember that day. We're sitting down at the bar down there, and we're all watching this. Your boy Pete Koch goes, Ron Solt goes, all these guys go, and there you were, the ACC Player of the Year, and you go in the second round. Was that something, Boomer, that was like a little bit of a chip on your shoulder when you got to the NFL? Because you ended up being a most valuable player, won an AFC title, all of that.
Yeah, of course it was, Dan. I mean, you know me from back in the day. You know exactly how I was like. Probably a little bit more refined today than I was back when I was 22 years old. But, I just, we had the USFL and everything else involved, and Steve Young had just signed that big deal with the LA Express. He was going to be the first quarterback taken. I was going to be the second quarterback taken. But since he decided to go to the USFL, I ended up, getting drafted by Cincinnati. And as luck turned out, it was a great place for me. I had great coaching around me for the first 8 years of my career, great players around me. So but I remember going into the league probably like Jalen did, with a little bit of a chip on my shoulder and wanting to prove people wrong. I think kind of like Tom Brady did. Tom Brady lasted until the 6th round. So, I mean, the league is littered with guys like that. Not everybody has to be a top 5 pick in order to turn out to be great. I think even Patrick Mahomes, to some extent, was probably a little bit miffed that he lasted as long as he did, believe it or not. So, and that they took Mitch Trubisky in Chicago before they took Patrick Mahomes. So, not that Mitch Trubisky's a bad dude, but he's not Patrick Mahomes, who's a Hall of Fame player in waiting. So, I think that's part of Jalen Hurts. I think it's part of a lot of players in the league that they have this mindset that they think somehow they've been screwed over and they want to show people that they belong.
So we're beyond Ben Bennett, right? I move on.
Yes.
Are the Eagles the best team in the NFC?
I say right now they are. Of course, they're 8-0, but I still say watch out for the 49ers, man. The 49ers, when they are healthy, they are going to be a bitch to deal with. And if there's a team that, if they are healthy, that can go on the road and beat Philadelphia if they have to play in the playoffs, it would be that team, because that team is loaded on the defensive line. They're really good on the offensive line. They just added Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and, of course, George Kittle. So when they are healthy and they are rolling, I think they're probably the biggest threat to the Eagles. And then right after that, I would probably say the Cowboys.
Have you been surprised by Nick Sirianni and Boomer? After the 2-5 start of a year ago, he hands the play-calling duties over to Shane Steichen. And since that time, Boomer, they're 16-4. I mean, I guess it's the evolution of being a head coach. You got to put like the coordinator headsets down and put the main headset on. But have you been surprised?
I'm not really that surprised because, before he came to Philadelphia, he was the offensive coordinator for Frank Reich out in Indianapolis, our buddy Frank. And, Frank thought really highly of him and said, he's ready to go. Now, Nick, had a goofy opening press conference. It was pretty bad. And Philadelphia fans were like, what did we get ourselves into? But, he's a good football coach. He knows the game. He knows, how to manage the team on the sideline, knows how to deal with different situations. To me, the biggest thing is situational football and how a coach handles it. And does he have the decisions, on the tip of his tongue, or is he, flubbing around for them or whatever the issue may be. So from a pure football standpoint, he's a really good coach. Maybe as a communicator to the media, not so good. That's not his strong point. And he hasn't gotten much better at it either, by the way. But when you're winning, a little bit of goofiness isn't so bad. So I think it's, a head coach should be a head coach to the entire team. And I don't like when head coaches start calling plays on either side of the ball, because I really feel like he's letting down the other side of the team. So my advice to all these coaches would be who you are as a leader of men, and let the people that you hire do their job the way that you know that they can do it.
3 last questions for you here. Boomer, do you believe in the Cowboys, that the Cowboys can go far? The offensive line is not the same as it was 3 years ago. The running game's not the same. Can Dak carry that team far this year, or do you still have question marks with them?
Well, I think they're probably the third best team, like I was just telling you, in the NFC. And the NFC is kind of light this year. But, to me, when you have pass rushers like DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, it kind of changes the landscape of the NFL, because who you're playing basically is going to have an opportunity to have their game blown up, because they are so good and they are so dominant. The Giants found that out. Even though the Giants are 6-2, the Dallas Cowboys came into MetLife Stadium and just absolutely hammered them. And DeMarcus Lawrence had a 3-sack game against Evan Neal. So I think that defensively they are really good. They are turnover machines. They're sack generators. Offensively, I think that, they're probably, I would say, close to being a top 10 offense. They're not a top 5 offense in my eyes, even though that they won without Dak Prescott. But I like Dak, and I appreciate who he is as a player. So I think they'll definitely be a player in the playoffs, and they should at least win one game, one home game. Well, they're going to be most likely they're going to be a wild card, so they're going to have to go on the road to win. And that defense is going to have to be healthy, and they're going to have to be playing well in order to do that.
You mentioned the Giants. They get beat by Seattle last week. I mean, Boomer, the only other story I can think of where you saw a guy who we all buried, he's a backup guy, he gets with great coaching with Pete Carroll, Geno Smith here, man. I mean, maybe Rich Gannon, where we saw a guy go around for 9 teams and all of a sudden he gets an MVP award in Oakland. I mean, have you ever seen anything like this?
I'm sure that there have been players. I didn't realize that would be a question, because I probably would have an answer for you. I do a little study on that. But I will say, here's the beauty about Geno Smith. So he's in his 10th year. He's been in Seattle for 3 years. It's obvious that Seattle had enough of Russell Wilson, that Russell Wilson was unpopular. Russell Wilson was unpopular with his coaching staff, with the players in the locker room. You've heard a lot of the ex-players who have played with Russell basically come down on him as being a phony or of some sort. I don't know that, because I haven't played with Russell, but I do know that the replacement of Russell is going to be beloved, especially if it was his backup for the last 3 years that knows everybody in the building. And as long as that guy can play, then everybody's going to love him. And quite frankly, he's playing with a chip on his shoulder right now as well. You remember, he was a 2nd-round draft pick by the Jets. He actually stuck it to the Giants last week after they beat them, because he said, I dedicate this game to Ben McAdoo and Jerry Reese. That was his former head coach and GM at the Giants, who actually gave him an opportunity to replace Eli Manning, which didn't go over well when he was here. But now I just think that I'm glad for him. I'm happy for him. He stuck with it. He's made a lot of money, and he's in line for another big payday, if he can keep this going. And I do expect them to beat the Arizona Cardinals this week, by the way, Dan.
Wow, man. Final question for you, Boomer. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, do both those guys not make the playoffs? Do one of them make the playoffs? Are you surprised? Is that the biggest surprise, that you're watching the way that Brady and the Packers are playing right now? Brady and the Buccaneers and Aaron Rodgers and the Packers?
I think if you had to ask me which of these two teams has a better chance of making it to the playoffs, I would say it's the Buccaneers, just simply because of the division that they play in. Neither one of these teams is going to make it. I don't believe as a wild card. I think they're going to have to be a division winner, and I think Minnesota is so far ahead of the Green Bay Packers. As long as Kirk Cousins doesn't get hurt, I don't think Green Bay is going to be able to catch them. Brady, on the other hand, they're right in the mix. They're a game out, I think, of first place in the NFC South. They have a game this week against the Rams. They should light up the Rams. They should light them up. That this should be a game that shouldn't even be close. And then they'll get back on track. And Akeem Hicks is coming back for them. So that's a huge get back for them. And remember, Devin White this week has also been ridiculed and called out for loafing on the field and being lazy on the field. I think with Akeem Hicks back in front of him, because he's a guy now is playing the position that Ndamukong Suh used to play for Tampa Bay, and he's the one that's protecting Devin White. Watch Devin White have about a 15 tackle game and go off this week, and Tom Brady throw for 350 yards and 4 scores, and everybody will be happy down in Tampa again.
Boy, you do so much stuff, Boomer. I mean, the NFL with CBS and, the morning show, obviously. How many years now have you been doing the morning show at WFAN now?
I started this in September, 16 years.
16 years. Do you enjoy TV or radio more?
That's kind of interesting. We are simulcast, kind of like you are here. So I'm on TV every morning, so I don't even think about the cameras there. But on Sundays, I got 4 partners that I'm working with. It's a little bit more scripted. It's not nearly as improv as it is every morning for us here in New York. So I guess I would probably say I would enjoy the radio a little bit more, simply because you have a little bit more time to explain yourself. There's a little bit more improv there, and I'm really working with one main partner, but I do have a team that I work with, and we've been together for so long that it's kind of easy when you get there and really enjoy, the work that you have.
Who would have thought, going back and forth to Islip in Maryland, sitting in the car with Vic Kronberg, going back and forth with Victor and Pete Koch. Pete's even doing commercials now. You see Pete doing those commercials?
Yeah.
I love Pete Koch. I stay in touch with him. I hope you do too.
He's doing the old man commercials.
Yeah. Hey, Boomer, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. You always find time for me. Thank you, my friend.
All right, Dano. Take it easy, brother. Have a great one.
You got it. That is Boomer Esiason from WFAN in New York and, of course, from CBS. We really appreciate him coming aboard with us here. Yeah, we used to go back and forth. My freshman year at Maryland, Boomer came to me and he goes like this. He goes, "Hey, how are you getting back and forth to college?" And I go, "I don't know." And he goes, "Well, my buddy has a car, Pete Koch. He's the Swede in Heartbreak Ridge. Have you guys ever seen the movie Heartbreak Ridge with Clint Eastwood? So he's one of our best friends. And Swede's like 6'7", and he was really a great guy. So that guy, 6'7", is in a car, and another guy from Stanford, his name was Vic Kronberg. He had the only car. So he would go to New York. I'd get in the car with him. He'd go to New York. Boomer and Pete would be in the car. There'd be the 4 of us in this car. Must have did that for a whole year and a half. Yeah, the Swede. All right, we're going to get more into the game last night. And I'm going to have a conversation with you about Jalen Hurts, about going undefeated, about the MVP award. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.